Your engineering lead just told you that your design improvements are opportunity cost compared to shipping new features. And you're sitting there thinking, but this will make the product better. Here's what I learned mentoring over 500 designers. It's not your design they don't trust, it's how you're framing the value. I see this pattern constantly in my coaching work. Talented designers, people with incredible craft skills, getting their ideas shot down or watered down in one-on-ones with their PM or engineering lead. Let me tell you about a designer I recently worked with. She had launched multiple products from scratch, complex 0-to-1 work, strong visual design skills, and she was feeling completely dejected because nothing was landing. Not her job search, not her ideas with stakeholders, and not a promotion. When we dug into it, the pattern became clear. She was leading with design decisions instead of business outcomes. She'd say things like, this is a better user experience, or this follows best practices. But her stakeholders couldn't connect these decisions to what they cared about: retention, conversion, or reducing support costs. So her craft wasn't the problem, it was her framing that was. And here's the good news. Strategic influence is completely learnable. You don't need to change your personality. You don't need to become more extroverted or more political. You just need to change how you're framing the value of your work. So let me show you what's actually happening. When stakeholders push back on design decisions, they're rarely rejecting the design itself. They're rejecting how it's being framed. I was recently coaching a design lead. Let's call him Alex. And Alex was struggling to get buy-in for improving their design system. He'd say things like, we need to make our UI more polished, or engineers need to pay more attention to craft and details. And his CTO kept shutting him down. The response? Well, that's an opportunity cost. Why would we have an engineer focus on UI when they could be working on shipping product features? Let me translate for you what opportunity cost really means here. The CTO saw improvements to the design system as work that was a direct trade-off against shipping features. In their mind, every hour an engineer spent improving the UI was an hour they weren't building something new that could acquire new customers or drive revenue. And when forced to choose, they defaulted to assuming feature development was more valuable. Notice what happened? Alex was leading with design language, polished UI, attention to craft. But his CTO was doing mental math, spending engineering resources on something that won't directly move our business metrics. Same exact work, completely different framing. Before we continue, I want to tell you about a tool you'll want to check out for your workflow, and it's called Gamma. I had an idea for a visual, and instantly I knew it was about to become a whole process. Searching templates, opening another design tool, tweaking layouts, and second-guessing everything. So instead, I tried something different. This is Gamma Imagine, and instead of designing, you just describe what you want. I'll start with an idea like an infographic about the product design process, and within seconds it gives me multiple design directions to choose from. Not just one version either, it gives you completely different creative directions. I can pick one I like and drop it straight into my content without bouncing between tools. And it's not just one kind of visual. You can generate posters, social graphics, diagrams, even logo ideas. The biggest shift is that I'm not starting with templates anymore. I'm starting with an idea, and Gamma helps me explore visual directions I might not have come up with on my own. Before, making visuals was this whole bottlenecked process. Now it feels much more direct, from idea to visual. So instead of opening design tools, I just write what I'm thinking, and Gamma Imagine turns it into visuals. It honestly feels like an AI design partner. It's available to all Gamma users right now, so it's a really good time to try it. You'll find the link below. So here's what we worked on together. Instead of saying, we need to improve the design system, we reframed it using 4 lenses. First, customer impact. How does this affect the customer experience in ways that tie to business outcomes? For example, right now, our inconsistent UI is causing confusion during onboarding. Users are dropping off because they can't find key features. If we standardize the navigation patterns, we can reduce time to first value and improve activation rates. Second, business outcomes. Connect it directly to company goals. For example, we're targeting 30% growth in new customers this quarter. Our current UI is creating friction in the sign-up flow that's costing us conversions. This work directly supports that growth target. Third, team efficiency. Quantify the time saved. For example, right now, engineers are rebuilding the same components from scratch on every project, which adds 2 to 3 days per feature. If we build these components once in the design system, we'll ship features 30% faster going forward. That's not opportunity cost, that's opportunity creation. And fourth, tech debt and timing. Make the case for now versus later. For example, let's say your company is only 65 people today. If we don't standardize now, we'll be maintaining 3 different navigation patterns across 10 teams in the next 6 months. And the cost of fixing this scales with the company's size. So this is the cheapest it will ever be to do this work. And here's the key move. We brought engineering allies into the conversation. So it wasn't just Alex advocating alone, it was Alex plus engineers who also saw the value, presenting a unified case to leadership. That's strategic influence, not better mock-ups, not more persuasive presenting. Strategic framing that shows the business value, not just the design value. And when you're competing for resources, roadmap space, or engineering time against other priorities, design craft without this kind of business context loses every single time, unfortunately. So here's a practical framework you can start using immediately. I call it the strategic narrative framework, and it has 4 parts. 1. Problem context. What's broken and why does it matter to the business? This isn't just users are confused, it's connecting the user problem to a business outcome. 2. Your insight. What did you discover that others haven't seen yet? This is where your design, research, and expertise creates value. 3. Design solution. How does your design specifically address the problem? Connect features to outcomes, not just to better UX. And 4, expected impact. What changes when we ship this? Quantify it where you can and be directional when you can't. Let's look at this in action with an onboarding redesign, and I'll address the real constraints you're probably thinking about right now. So starting with problem context. Our onboarding completion rate is 45%, which means we're losing over half of new signups before they experience the core product value. At our current signup volume of around 2,000 users a month, that's 1,100 potential customers dropping off. And based on our LTV, that's approximately $220,000 in lost annual revenue. Now, maybe you're thinking, I don't have access to analytics. So here's what you're gonna do. Go to your PM or whoever owns the metrics and ask. Frame it as, I wanna understand our onboarding performance so I can identify design improvements. If they won't share numbers, you can still paint the picture. Like, I've been watching support tickets and talking to customer success. We're losing a significant number of users in onboarding before they see product value. Can we prioritize understanding why? Next, your insight. I analyzed the drop-off points and ran user interviews with 15 people who abandoned onboarding. The issue isn't that the steps are too complicated, it's that users don't understand why we're asking for certain information. The moment they hit our integration setup screen, 60% of them bail. But wait, maybe you're thinking, my company won't give me the time to do 15 user interviews. So start smaller. Talk to 3 to 5. Check support tickets, read App Store reviews. Grab your customer success team for just 20 minutes and ask them, what are you hearing? You don't need a formal research study, you need enough signal to identify the real problem. Then, in your pitch, say, I've talked to a handful of users and reviewed support tickets, and here's the pattern I'm seeing. If we want to validate this further, I can run a more comprehensive study, but the early signal is strong enough that we should consider addressing this. So you're building a case for the research itself while showing you've already done the legwork. Design solution. I've redesigned the flow to show users the value they'll unlock at each step. Instead of connect your tools, we're showing them connect Slack to get real-time notifications when deals close. We're also introducing progressive onboarding. They can skip non-essential integrations and come back later. This reduces the initial commitment from 7 steps to 3. Expected impact. Based on similar patterns I've seen in A/B tests from comparable products, reducing friction at this stage typically improves completion rates by 20 to 30%. If we hit the low end, that takes us from 45 to 54% completion and an additional 180 activated users per month, or roughly $36,000 in recovered annual revenue. You might be asking, how do I validate these numbers? Aren't I just making them up? Well, here's how to make it credible. You could reference comparable products. For example, let's say this competitor published a case study showing that simplifying their onboarding improved completion by 25%. You could also use industry benchmarks. The average SaaS onboarding completion rate is around 60%, so we're underperforming the benchmark by 15 points. And sometimes it's okay to just acknowledge uncertainty. I can't guarantee exactly 20%, but directionally, we know that reducing steps and adding clarity improves conversion. The worst case is we learn something. The best case is we recover significant revenue. Propose a test. Let's ship this to 20% of users and measure the impact. If it doesn't move the needle, we'll iterate, but the early signal suggests this is worth testing. The goal isn't to be perfectly right. It's to be credible enough that stakeholders see this as a smart bet. See the difference? It's the same design work, but now you're speaking in a language that stakeholders can evaluate, compare against other initiatives, and prioritize. You're also addressing their concerns before they raise them, which helps build trust. The key is this. You're not changing your design process. You're changing how you talk about the outcomes. And that shift changes everything about how stakeholders engage with your work. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but what if my stakeholder still pushes back even with all of this framing? How do I make time for this kind of thinking when my team is execution focused and I'm just expected to ship the next feature? What about exploratory or innovative work where I don't have obvious benchmarks or metrics? How do I get buy-in for this without it looking like I'm committing to a 6-week research phase? And where does AI even fit into all of this? These are exactly the questions I work through with designers in my coaching program. Because strategic communication isn't just a formula you can apply. It's a practice that you develop through implementation, personalized feedback, and accountability. Here's what the journey typically looks like. You learn the framework. That gives you the structure and the foundation. But then comes the real work, applying it in your actual environment with your specific stakeholders. Maybe you try it in a one-on-one with your PM and it lands okay, but not great. So you adapt. Turns out your PM cares less about revenue numbers and more about team velocity and reducing tech debt. So adjust your framing accordingly. Or you're struggling with how to position exploratory design work, the kind without obvious metrics. You learn to frame it as risk reduction. So before we commit engineering resources to building X, let's spend 2 weeks validating the core assumptions. The cost of getting this wrong is 3 months of wasted eng time. Your company culture is very execution focused. You feel like you never have time to do proper discovery. So figure out how to do lightweight validation, using AI to help synthesize user feedback faster, running quick prototype tests, building cases for research in smaller chunks rather than big upfront phases. And slowly, your positioning changes how stakeholders see you. Not as someone who slows things down with research, but as someone who de-risks decisions and helps them move faster in the right direction. That's the work. It's hands-on, it's iterative, it's specific to your context. You don't master this by just watching this video. You master it by trying it in your real meetings, getting feedback on what landed and what didn't, and refining your approach. If this resonates with you, if you're tired of having great ideas that don't get traction, if you want to be seen as a strategic partner instead of just a skilled executor, I run a group coaching program specifically for designers ready to increase their strategic influence. This isn't just content you watch and forget. It's personalized coaching, hands-on practice, and accountability to actually implement these skills in your real work environment. And you won't be doing this alone. You'll be part of a group of designers working through similar challenges and learning from each other's experiences, and building these skills together in a supportive environment. I'm building a waitlist for future cohorts, and there are just a few questions to answer. Takes just a few seconds, and the link is in the description. I want to know where you're at in your career, what your biggest challenge is with stakeholder influence, and what you're hoping to achieve. This program is for high-performing individual contributors who know their craft is solid, but they want to develop the strategic communication and influential skills that actually accelerate your career. So join the waitlist to be notified about future cohorts. And if you found this video helpful, subscribe to the channel. I share practical strategies for designers who want to have more influence in their roles. Drop a comment below, let me know what topics you'd like me to cover next. I read every single one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.